Mother got home at her usual time, and even though she was tired, she immediately went into the kitchen to get dinner ready for us. I came in to see how her day went. Her eyes opened wide when she saw me. She jumped back and exclaimed, "What happened to your face and hair?" I panicked. Alice had helped me remove all of my makeup, or did she? I got very worried. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Your eyebrows are shaped." She paused, trying to formulate the right words to say so differently. Her voice trailed off into a sense of bewilderment. I was stunned. I couldn't respond. Then I remembered, of course, what Alice had done to them. Alice came into the kitchen to see what the commotion was about. Realizing what Mom had seen, she quickly chimed in, "It was me. I did that to him." My head was spinning. I didn't want Mom to know what I had done, but now there was no way out of it. At least that's what I thought, and I was worried Alice would tell her everything. Alice quickly added, "I asked him if I could use him to practice my trimming and styling techniques." She looked at Mom with a very innocent look. I didn't mean to cause any problems. Mother looked me over and gradually worked her fingers through my hair. She commented on how much more volume it had. "I'm just concerned on how different Richard looks now. I almost didn't recognize him." She looked at me and asked, "Are you okay with this, sweetheart?" I cautiously nodded, not knowing what to say. "Okay, well." Mother began stumbling over her words. "Next time, please talk to me first," was all that she could mutter. She was obviously very concerned, but just didn't completely understand why this had happened. After dinner, Alice left to go to a part-time evening job she had gotten at a local boutique. That allowed me to spend time with Mom and just try to be my usual boy self, as difficult as that was, based on how I looked. Sleep eventually overwhelmed me and I decided to go to bed. I said goodnight to Mom. She smiled and said, "Sweet dreams." I laid down in my bed and fell asleep. About an hour later, Alice got home. She quietly snuck into my room and gently nudged my arm. "Trish," she said in a quiet whisper, "are you awake?" I woke up and forced my eyes open, a little delirious, trying to figure out what was going on. A big smile formed on her face. "I'm so sorry about Mom seeing you like that." Her voice was very somber. "I hope you're okay." I just nodded a little. "I don't want you to be upset. I care very much about you." "I know you do," I said, trying to reassure her. "Good," she replied. "You know how much I love my little sister." She sat next to me on the bed and softly caressed my arm. Tired, I thought I might have still been dreaming, but then I came to the realization as to what she was saying. I looked at her and said, "I'm not a girl." I saw what appeared to be a tear forming from her eye, and I tried to collect my thoughts. I realized that what I had said must have hurt her, so I told her I was sorry. I reminded myself that I did not want to see her upset. Her happiness was very important to me. "It's okay," she said as a smile gradually formed again across her face. Still caressing my arm, she added, "Can you sleep in my bed this evening with me?" "What?" I said, almost in a loud voice. I quickly lowered my volume to a whisper. "No, I can't do that. Please," she pleaded. "I am really feeling down and I need my sister right now." I then blurted out, "But it's not right for a brother and sister to be in the same bed together." "Trish," she said in a very assured voice, "you're my sister, not my brother. Please remember that. And besides, there's nothing wrong with two sisters sharing the same bed." I tried to think of an excuse to get out of this, but nothing really came to mind. "But what would Mom say?" I asked. "Mom won't find out," she replied. "I promise." I thought about it and realized how important this was for her. Nothing was said between either of us for the next few minutes. Eventually, I forced myself to say okay, but that word very reluctantly came out of my mouth. "Thanks, sis." She leaned over and gave me a kiss on my cheek. That was the first time Alice had ever kissed me, which put me in a small state of shock. Alice then carefully led me into her bedroom. We remained as quiet as possible to prevent Mom from waking up. She took off her clothes and told me to get undressed as well. "Why?" I exclaimed. "Can't I just wear what I already have on?" I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. "Don't be silly," she said with a big smile. Those are boys' clothes. I was about to remind her that I was a boy, but I quickly stopped myself from doing that. I stripped down to my underpants. Alice, who was already naked, could tell I was pretty reluctant to be fully unclothed in front of her again. "Come on, sis," she said with a warm smile. "Take off your underpants." "It's just us girls." She walked over and gave me a hug. She held me tight in her arms and softly whispered in my ear, "Everything will be okay. I promise." She then reached down and helped me step out of my underpants. "I have a cute nightgown you'll love." She went to a drawer and pulled out a satin pink nightgown with matching panties. I slowly put the panties and nightgown on as Alice changed into her pajamas, a blue ruffled sleep shirt. She gave me a pair of very feminine girls' white ankle socks, which I put on as she pulled her hair back into a high ponytail. Alice walked to her bed and patted her hand on the mattress. "Come on, you get in first." I paused and thought about my current situation. I was dressed like a girl, and I was about to get into a bed with my sister. How did I let myself get into this? I looked at Alice and said no. This is not right. I cannot do this. And I began to head out of her room. Alice quickly ran over and grabbed my arm. "Please don't leave," she pleaded. She hugged me again, this time even harder, and said, "I am sorry. I guess this is too much for you. Everything you're doing really means a lot to me. Look, sis, I think this has gone too far. I am your brother, not your sister. Please, let's sit down and talk about this." Her words were very soft and warm. She gently led me back to the bed, and we both sat down on the edge of the mattress. With her arm around my shoulder, she began caressing my forearm with her other hand. "I hope you understand that this is very important to me." We sat for what seemed like an eternity as she went through once again how me being her little sister made her feel complete, and that she needed this in her life. I was very hesitant to say anything because I didn't want her to be sad or upset, so I mostly remained quiet and just listened to what she said. Eventually, she stopped talking and just continued holding me in her arms. My thoughts were of Alice and how I loved and cared about her. I worked through my head how important this was to her, and finally caved into her wishes. I blurted out, "Okay, I'll continue to be your sister." Alice looked at me and tears began rolling down her cheeks. She smiled and said, "Thank you, Trish. I love my little sister so much." She put her arms around my shoulders and with her voice, sobbing, continued, "I care about you, and I promise nothing bad will ever happen to you." She kissed me on my cheek. During this entire time, Mother did not wake up. She apparently didn't hear anything. Alice once again patted her hand on the mattress and said, "You get in first." I got into the bed and Alice followed in right after me. She quickly began snuggling up with me. We were facing each other on our sides with our faces really close. Our legs and feet were touching and I could feel her body slightly pressing against mine. She smiled and began running her fingers through my hair. A little shaken by her closeness, I said, "I didn't expect you to get this close to me." Alice realized how nervous I was and calmly said, "It's okay, Trish. Girls do this a lot when they sleep over. You'll get used to it. I promise." Occasionally, I would feel her feet rubbing against mine, almost like she was playing footsie with me. I don't think she even knew she was doing it. She broke the silence by saying, "That shampoo really does a great job. Do you like it?" "It's okay," I replied, not really knowing what I was saying. "We should really get you a permanent." Her fingers were still sifting through my hair. "I think you'd look really adorable as a redhead." Then a devilish smile came across her face. "Or maybe a blonde. Guys just love blondes." Alice then changed the topic of discussion and began talking about David again. She said that she missed the sex but did not miss him. She went into extreme details on how she would sexually please him. I wasn't used to hearing this, and it made me feel uncomfortable hearing it come from my sister. I became a little frustrated and asked, "Why are you telling me this?" "It's just something girls talk about with each other. I hope it's okay with you. I just wanted to share that with my little sister." She smiled as she twirled my hair in her fingers. Then she reversed the topic and said, "We could talk about you instead." A nervous smile squeaked across my face, but I said nothing. "Are there any boys you're attracted to?" she asked. "It's okay to talk about it. Her voice was very calm. "No, of course not," I replied, almost in a loud voice, but still trying to keep quiet enough not to wake up Mom. I wanted to remind her that I'm not attracted to boys, but I decided it was better to remain silent. "It's okay," she said. "When the right boy comes along, I'll be here for you. That's a promise." I was getting frustrated because I couldn't tell her how I really felt, so I decided to get some sleep. I told Alice I was tired. She nodded and said, "I need to get some sleep too." With that, I rolled over on my other side so that I was facing away from her. She then surprised me by cuddling up really close in a spooning position. Our bodies were touching and she put her arm around me. "Good night, Trish," she said as she gradually fell asleep. I couldn't sleep. Here I was in a bed cuddled up with my sister, and I just kept trying to remind myself that I was doing this to make her happy. Eventually, I dozed off.